certainly want to give Coach Underwood and Illinois credit. Came in and played really well. We knew that they were a really good team. I think one of the better teams in the entire country. That was evident on film, and they played like it tonight. As far as we go, I thought there were some good, tough stretches, and then there were some stretches where we didn't play with the poise that we needed to. And against a really good team, that's how you come up short. Proud of the way we fought back multiple times. Rebounding was a really, really big focal point for us going into the game, and I thought, for the most part, we battled really hard and rebounded, pretty well for majority of the game. So, got to dissect this and learn from it. Certainly duplicate the stretches that were really good. We need more of those, but we got to clean up some of those self-inflicted wounds that really good teams make you pay every time you do that.
Start with the left.
I don't know if this should be the first question I ask you, but I'm going to ask you. The bench only had 2 points. Amari took 2 shots, I think 21 minutes or something like that. What are you seeing out of Amari? And I guess there's so much pressure on him, it feels like, that he has to contribute offensively for you guys off the bench. And where do you think he's at and be able to handle that responsibility?
Yeah, I think he's ready to handle it. He didn't, necessarily play like that tonight, but he's a young player who's getting better every single day, and he's played pretty consistently for us here lately. I don't know if it was the foul trouble that maybe took him out of a rhythm, but I thought, offensively he couldn't get it going, and he plays 20 minutes. I would almost guarantee he'd be active on the offensive glass and just couldn't quite come up with 1 or 2 of those. So it's great, great lesson for all of us. I think certainly knowing him, he's gonna take a really hard look at the film, and he'll come out and have a great practice here the next day, because that's who he is.
Brad Underwood said after the game that maybe Paige or Andre maybe shocked Bruce's central nervous system a little bit in the second half. What did you see out of Bruce from one half to the next that maybe changed at all, or did you see anything that changed?
Yeah, they put a little bit more size on him. I thought there were a couple of his looks were really good, and we try to get him the ball in different spots. He's got to continue to be really aggressive because he had it going. There's no question about that. I thought him only getting to the free throw line 1 time, something's not right about that, and we got to go back and look why that is in a game where there's 48 fouls called, and the way he's guarded with the physicality he's guarded with, it's very surprising to me that a player of that caliber gets to the free throw line 1 time and gets 2 attempts. So we'll see. Some of that could be him, and he's got to initiate more contact or whatever, because it felt like those type of plays were being honored tonight, where offense initiating contact, and but I thought listen, he had 34, 6 and 6. So I don't know what there is to really pick at aside from him not getting to the free throw line when it seemed like a lot of free throws were being had, and him not getting there more. So maybe some of that's on him. We got to go back and look at that. But yeah, I think that's it.
Stay right on the left, Jeff.
Defensively, the guys we talked about it in here earlier. Bruce was like, we got to own it. We didn't get in the gaps well enough. We didn't do a lot of things on defense well enough. We fouled too much. What did you see and on that?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, certainly. When you play a team of this caliber, like your execution, with the scheme you're doing has got to be really high level. And listen, give them credit. Zero came in, and wasn't shooting at the 80% clip from 3 you shot at tonight. And so we had to alter our coverage, anticipating that, players step up in those moments and maybe do something like that where they get hot from 3, that we got to go to a different coverage. I thought we in moments like that, our adjustments were good, but yes, we knew this was a team that was going to shoot a lot of 3s. And, we had to protect the paint while also, limiting the easy catch and shoot opportunities. And you do that by being up in your gap, where guys, you can impact the drive higher up the floor, because if it gets too deep and you form, this long, low gap, you're not going to recover in time. And the other thing that makes them unique is some of those guys, they had really tall guys shooting threes, which as you close out, right, it's different closing out when you're heavy in the gap versus a 6'4" guy versus a guy who's 7 feet. So I think, they shot the ball really well. Some of that is on us, certainly, but I think some of it too is, so they had some guys step up and make some big time shots.
Yeah, just one more thing. You mentioned we had good stretches, we had bad stretches. I know there's some new parts to this team. How do you feel like, how do you get this team to be more consistent, I guess? And what is your message to them so that you don't have those long gaps in walls?
Yeah, well, again, I think in tonight's game, there were two stretches where, we battle back and tie it, or one possession game, kind of either way. And the following, really multiple offensive possessions were not good enough from us. We have valued shot quality at an extremely high level as a team this year. It's why we shot the ball, part of why we shot the ball the way we have. And tonight, for whatever reason, we didn't do that well. And it wasn't once, it was multiple stretches. Like we battled back, I think, to tie the game. I have to go back and look, whatever it was, and then we go down and we're like 4 straight possessions where we take tough shots and don't touch the paint. So that's not who we are. It's not who we are in practice. That's like the type of learning we got to do, right? And part of that is I love our guys playing aggressive and confident, but we have to, we have to play with more poise, I think, in those stretches.
Bruce was the only player in double-digit scoring until well into the second half. Do you think he feels a sense of pressure when he has to carry the offense for the majority of the game?
I don't know if he necessarily feels additional pressure. I mean, he takes a great deal of pride every time we step on the floor of being one of the best players on the court. And, he's operated like that with high level consistency. It's how he prepares, it's how he practices. So I'd be surprised if he felt, this game required, throughout the flow of the game, to him to just say, hey, like, I got to change who I am and be this kind of, different player. I think he's operated with unbelievable efficiency all season so far. And he clearly had it going on a different level in the first half, but it was only a matter of time before those other guys started making more shots. So, and he's got great trust in his teammates, as we all do.
I have one more, sorry.
Yeah.
The other guys, like you said, they did pick it up in the second half. What was your message to them at halftime after Devin and Juny were really slow to get started offensively?
Yeah, I think we challenged them, and we challenged them first on the defensive side, and I thought as an entire team, our defense was much improved aside from some of the fouling in the second half, and that helped us get going offensively. We saw different coverages from them that we had prepared for, and they make you adjust throughout the course of the game, as good teams do, and as we did to them at times. But I thought our guys, our poise was better in the second half than it was in the first half, and that's how we got that game back to a one possession, there with a minute left.
Yeah. Christoph started the year 4 of 29 from 3. I know you've talked about wanting to continue to instill confidence in him. How do you keep his spirits up in terms of being a shooter? Bruce talked about having total trust and faith in him. Just how do you keep those spirits up after a rough start to the year?
Yeah, I think first off, he's got to do a better job of just focusing on the next possession. I think he's playing frustrated at times, and he's a veteran. He's been through a lot of college basketball. He's just got to keep focusing on what's ahead. If you look back last year, we had a Devin struggled, early in the year from 3. I think it might have been like 4 for 24 or something, and he battled through that and shot the ball at a high clip the rest of the season. And he's, so yeah, I think we don't want him out there obviously firing up contested ones, right? But open ones where he's shooting with confidence, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing. Don't hesitate. Be aggressive. Be confident. And listen, he's not going to go, he's not going to shoot and make them all the rest of the year. But he's just can't play frustrated. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. And I thought really this was a step forward for him tonight. He had some good stretches, and so you know he's got to keep battling. I think he was in a better place health-wise. You know, we got another few days here to get even better before the next one. So he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been battling through. You know, he's spent a lot of time to get healthy, and he'll break through here soon.
And then you talked about the fouls earlier, 48 total combined fouls in this game between both teams. Is there anything different about coaching a game with that sort of slow, grinding pace where a lot of fouls are being called?
I think, you know, you want to fight for your squad, right? I think, you know, you want to do that. But outside of that, you know, again, there were two stretches, if I can recall correctly, where they got to the free throw line and we shot contested jump shots. Like when the game's being called that way, you can't be the team that settles. And we were the team that settled for a couple stretches. So we gotta respond differently, which we will. I got 100% confidence we'll respond differently next time we're in that situation. And that's where you go from, you know, you kind of change the momentum of the game, right? You now go up, get a couple stops, and you keep your offense rolling. Now you're up, you know, 2-3 possessions. So again, we gotta learn from that obviously here really quickly. It's something we talk about, but thought that was probably offensively my biggest disappointment was our lack of poise in a couple stretches.
Stay in the middle, Adam in the backpack.
When we talked to Devin, he said like rebounding on the wing as opposed to being further down low. It's a bit of an adjustment. He said he's still kind of working through it. Brad Underwood said that he was a pain in the butt as a four-man. As he's continuing to adapt to this position change, like what are some of those struggles that you see him still working through as far as like bringing that physicality and some of those things that made him so effective around the rim last year?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, now you gotta maximize that motor when the shot goes up and you gotta fly in. You know, kind of like they had a couple guys do tonight, right? And so, again, for him, he's got an offensive rebound for us, and you know we have high level rebounding accountability that we chart every single time we play. And it's an area I think for him that he's got to get better at quickly, but it takes, you know, great motor to be an elite offensive rebounder from the perimeter, and he can do it. He's shown an ability to do it really, really well. But you know, I think that's the biggest thing for him is he's just got to step up and do what he's done for us, you know, for most of this kind of the time this team's been together.
You mentioned like Tilly with his shot and being, you know, shoot with confidence. Not that Juny ever seems to really lack confidence, but it seems like he's maybe forcing some shots. His shot looks flat. His free throw shot looks flat. Like, what are you seeing from him as far as maybe some of that decision making and his overall shooting right now?
Yeah, you know, I think he's pressed a little bit at times. It's a very fine line, Adam, because you know part of his confidence is a gift, you know. But I think my challenge to him has always been like be a complete player, and you know I think the biggest thing we talk about is don't try to get it going with really hard shots. You know, because if he were only a shooter, it might be a different conversation. But I believe in his playmaking at a high level, and I thought he did a better job with that in the second half. So at this level against this caliber of opponent, you can't wait for a half. And I think that's the biggest thing. Transition freshman to sophomore is like we got to make those kind of split-second decisions earlier in the game better. And he, to his credit, he adjusted and saying I thought his defense was better in the second half. As well, and that was part of what helped them make some shots, you know, in the second half. So, yeah, it's film. It's continuing to talk through that, and now as he's, you know, got a lot of minutes under his belt, he's got to adjust on the fly, and you know, earlier than he did tonight, and he will.
Well, Patrick.
Jake, when you're in a game, you talked about the fouls and guys in foul trouble. Just how comfortable are you with that depth at an early point in the season, especially in a Big Ten game, second Big Ten game for a decent amount of these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think comfortable is, I don't know if that's the best word. I mean, we have trust in them, but I think we got some inexperience there. And so that's why we're constantly evaluating how we're practicing. And I think, you know, one of the disappointing things, we had a phenomenal practice yesterday, and some of those guys played with, you know, a little bit more pop yesterday than today. And so, you know, for us, like, guys gotta continue to operate with consistency day after day. You know, the season is still young, and you know, it's not fair to, in my opinion, to judge some of those guys who are maybe getting limited minutes just on game day. Now we got, you know, we're collecting some data certainly. Now we're getting into, you know, heading into our 10th game, so we have some, you know, lineup analytics that we can look at. This is now our 4th high major game, so we got some lineup analytics and stuff that we can, I think, are more meaningful and impactful that we're evaluating. But those guys got to step up, and they will, and they have. You know, rewind 3 days ago, they stepped up in a big way on the road. So part of the inexperience, I think consistency comes with that at times, and we got to keep fighting for consistency.
Again, early Big Ten, but what do you want guys to take out of this game? Like, if there's one thing that they take and hope to grow from, what would that be?
Yeah, well, listen, Big Ten play is ugly at times, and we played ugly at times tonight, and we were in a 1-possession game, you know, with a minute left. So that's the first thing, I think, is you're not going to play perfect in this league. Your composure, your poise, your toughness, you know, have to be at a high level every single possession. And I think this team, I think Coach Underwood has one of the best teams in the country there. Like, they got size, they got skill, they got physicality. You know, they can score from the outside, they can score from the inside, they get to the free throw line. Like, you know, their defensive numbers were high level coming into this game. So we didn't play nearly as well as we're capable of, and didn't play as well as we're capable of for enough stretches. And it was a 1-possession game with a minute left. You know, the end score, it doesn't tell the whole story. So I told our guys after the game, like, we got to look at this film, take ownership of the spots that are on us for getting the outcome we got tonight. But the exciting thing is, you know, we didn't get beat by playing anywhere near our best. And for me, that's a real positive. Now we got to play more like our best, right? So it's not like trying to sugarcoat it. There's no moral victory here. I think that's just the reality of evaluating the game. Like, we didn't play very well for some stretches, and we're right there against a great team. So we got to fix that's on us. Not to take anything away from Illinois, but there's some stuff we got to do better that we can control.
Coach, thank you.
All right, guys, thanks.
Thanks, Jake.